Well, stress-free might be a bit of an exaggeration, but there are things that you can do to reduce the amount of stress and worry that you are experiencing in your homeschool. Hi, I am Rachel from 7 and All, and today let's talk about how stress and worry impact our homeschools and some of the mental shifts that we can make to change the way that we experience our homeschool and our responsibilities within our homeschool. There will always be times when, as a parent, you can feel a little overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude and magnificence of the task we've been given in raising humans. And I think that's a good thing. I think we should always remain a little bit in awe of this task that's been given to us and never take it too lightly. We should have a sense of our own smallness in the face of this task. However, when that sense of smallness and that sense of awe begins to spiral into a cycle of stress or a cycle of worry, that becomes a joy stealer. And that is something that we do not want in our homeschools. It's not going to help us to be effective. It's not going to help us to be more successful in this process of raising our children and educating them. So if you are finding yourself as a homeschool parent caught up in a worry cycle about when will my daughter ever learn to read? When will my son ever learn to master his times tables? When will my child ever just begin to enjoy learning and cooperate with this process? You can get into these worry cycles and these stress cycles and start to feel a lot of stress and anxiety about your homeschool, and that will steal your joy. That is something that's not going to help your homeschool in the long run. So how can we avoid this? How can we choose a stress-free approach to homeschool? There is something you can do, and it's something that is largely a shift and an understanding that takes place in your mind. My number one tip to reduce stress and worry and allow joy to thrive in your homeschool is this. Within your homeschool, acknowledge an accurate division of responsibilities. You and your children all have roles and responsibilities in your homeschool, and they are not the same. Your responsibility as the homeschool parent is to direct your homeschool effectively and skillfully. You get the job of creating the homeschool plan, enacting the homeschool plan, and responding to the needs of each child and each day as it comes. Your children's roles and responsibilities are to learn at a rate that is realistic for them, and also to participate and to engage with their own education and with their own learning. Ideally, this participation will occur with reasonably good attitudes and with not making your job as their teacher too much harder than it really needs to be. But they are children and they are immature, and so whether you're a teacher in a school or in a homeschool, you'll know that that's not going to happen every day as small children are maturing and growing in their ability to handle their own roles and responsibilities. But that does fall under your child's domain, and it's your child's responsibility. Now, how does understanding an accurate division of responsibilities reduce worry and stress? It reduces it because once you understand your own domain and then the domains of responsibility that don't belong to you, you can be freed from the burden of worrying about the domains that do not belong to you, that are not under your control and that are not your responsibility. The wiring inside your child's brain that impacts the way they learn is not your responsibility. The rate at which your child masters new skills is part of their domain, not yours. The attitude and the engagement with which they approach their learning and their education is their domain. It does not belong to ultimately your responsibility. They will decide the relationship that they have with their own education. Now, this does not excuse you from a parent's natural role of guiding their children as they mature to grow in the ability to meet their roles and their responsibilities with ever-increasing skill and with ever-increasing maturity. You still have that role as their guide, the person who teaches them the values needed to meet these roles and responsibilities to the best of their own ability. This also does not excuse you as a teacher from learning to adapt your lessons and your plans to meet the needs of your specific students. But it does remove some of that heavy burden of worry and stress when you realize that, yes, it's your job to teach your son how to multiply, but it's his responsibility and it's his domain. It's not within your domain to determine how and when he masters that skill. Ultimately, the pace of that journey and ultimately the time when mastery is achieved is going to happen in his own time. It's under his domain, it's under his responsibility. You can't decide and determine when exactly that will happen. You do need to show up and do your job consistently. However, you do not and you cannot determine the rate at which mastery occurs or the date on which mastery occurs. All you can do is continue to show up faithfully to do your work well. This understanding is crucial to my stress-free approach to homeschool. I understand what my responsibility is and what my job is, and I determine to do my job skillfully. However, the amount of learning that's happening in my children's brains, the rate at which they achieve mastery, and their own relationship with education is ultimately their domain, not mine. Some rhetoric within education today really puts undue burden on the shoulders of the parent or the teacher. It can make it seem like if your child isn't finding learning super fun and engaging and progressing at a wonderful rate, then it's your job to do something about that. It's your job to find a way to make learning super fun and magical when your child isn't engaging with it. And here's where I would say, in my opinion, no, it's not. Moms do not need to bend over backwards to make their child's education magical. We do need to do our job skillfully. We need to adapt to meet individual needs. We need to apply our own individual creative talents. But ultimately, we need to acknowledge that our children's relationship with their own learning and with their own education belongs to them and not to us. So, if you can, I invite you to drop some of the weight of worrying about your homeschool this year. You don't have to carry that burden anymore. Instead, remind yourself daily to identify the division of responsibilities within your homeschool. Then, determine to meet your responsibilities well and allow your children to grow within their own realms of responsibility. I hope that you found this video helpful and that it got your gears turning about where you might be able to drop some of those burdens of stress and worry within your homeschool when you find yourself worrying about something that is truly outside your own domain. If you like homeschool videos, I make these videos all the time. Please subscribe to 7 and All, and please do give this video a like. It helps my channel a lot, and I'll be seeing you next time for more nerdy homeschool videos. Bye!